Hey everybody, welcome to TinyFarm with Jake and Willis. I'm your host Jake, and today we're going to talk about sheltering in place and what that means for you and your family. This is a particularly timely subject given the fact that there is an eclipse coming April 8th, and the government has been giving up some really interesting advice, and that is have enough food for a couple of weeks and be prepared to shelter in place. Now, first of all, it doesn't impact the majority of the United States and Canada. It's just a small swatch that goes from the coast down through the central part of the United States and into Texas. However, those areas are going to be inundated with a lot of traffic, a lot of people, and so who knows? There could be the opportunity for a lot of incidents to happen. And I think that it's good advice that was given to be prepared. And so we're going to take a look at what are the things that you would like or you should have in your home to shelter in place for up to 2 weeks. The first thing you're going to want to do is figure out, do you have enough food and water for 2 weeks for your family? I use the food calculator at easyprepper.com. It's easy to use, and you can select from a variety of options, from the size of your family to how many weeks or months or years you want to prep for. As you can see, based on your selection, it gives you a readout of how much milk, bread, wheat, meat, canned goods, etc. you should have on hand. If you have a large family, take note. These are not small quantities, and this is just for 2 weeks. If nothing else, it provides you with a guideline, and you can add and subtract to the various areas as you see fit. You may not require as much sugar, but you may, if you have small children, want to have more milk on hand. And remember, the one thing you don't want to skimp on is water. You can live without food, but you can't live without water. So make sure you have an adequate water supply for your family. So I've gone back and adjusted this for just Willis and I. What do we need? We're just 2 people, and it's just 2 weeks. I'll leave the link to this site in the links below. But what do we need? It's not just food and water now, is it? You have to get the ever-loving toilet paper, or make sure you have a means to actually take care of your business. Have the sanitary essentials that you and your family are going to need, and make sure you've got a good supply of your medications. I'm sure that at this time, especially in that eclipse zone, if you were requesting your next month's medication because you were down to your last week, I'm sure that they would have to comply. After all, it's an order. As we saw in last week's video, a disaster can strike at any time and can take any form. So I think it's only wise to be prepared to have at least a 72-hour emergency plan, and that includes sheltering in place. So let's think about sheltering in place and what that really means. Are you able to be in your whole house as you were during that nasty dark time where we all had to stay inside? Or is it more drastic than that, where you might have to seek shelter in the basement? If your basement's a little on the old side, you might want to have at least one area that you have spruced up, that you've got your storage of food and water and a mat to get off of the cold floor. You're really going to have to assess it. If you have a newer basement where you've already got the basement is got the family room in it and an extra bedroom and a bathroom, this is all great stuff. But if you have an older house and it's just a basement, you're going to have to take a little bit of extra precaution and take a look, take stock of what it looks like. If you're going to be stuck down there for any length of time, make it what you want it to be. In any case, being stuck in your basement for a couple of weeks isn't that big of a deal. However, if you're in an older basement, you will want to have some of the niceties, so make sure that's part of your plan. And at this stage, you've got a couple of weeks to prep for it. Make sure you've got an adequate place for beds or a place to at least have a cot Make sure that it's warm or that you've got warm clothing. Um, then you want to also look at your prep items such as lighting, batteries, food, other means of communications such as walkie-talkies, police scanner. You could even, as I did, have a CB radio. Make sure you know how it works. As you can see, there's a lot of different things to think of here. And you have a few weeks to prep for the eclipse. And you have probably a while to be able to put together a long-term plan for this type of emergency situation. Let's face it, you don't have to be rich to be smart. You can be smart and you can start looking at things long-term. And I think this is one of the things that really needs to be looked at and planned for long-term. And if you have a home, you can access your basement as your, your underground storage. If you're in an apartment, that's a little bit of a different story. But there are some apartments that actually have storage units in the basement that could be used, of course. There's also the idea of going to someone else's home, having an arrangement where, if SHTF happens, that you would be able to go over to their place. But sheltering in place, sometimes it's an emergent thing, or it means now. So you do have to work with what you have. And sometimes that just means getting into a room that doesn't have windows or doesn't have many windows. Sometimes it could mean having some plywood available so that you're able to block your windows from any kind of flying glass, especially if you're in like a hurricane or tornado situation. These are things that can be planned for, that can be bought over time, that can be picked up at scrapyard. Like, you don't need to buy new. If you're working on trying to put together a basement, especially a creepy basement, you could actually get a lot of things for free. People are giving away things all the time on Kijiji just to get them out of their house. So you might want to look at that, or ask friends, relatives, are you looking to get rid of anything that I could use in my basement? There are lots of ways to do things, but the first thing you have to do is start to plan. And if I could do anything, it's just to help people recognize the need, that there is hope, but there is the need to plan also. It just makes sense to me. And that's all I want, I think, from this site, is basically just to help people get it. We aren't living in the days that we had back in the 80s and 70s and 60s and, well, beyond that. Yeah, things may get really tough, but we're tough and we can do it. So I just want you to know that there's a lot of us out there. I don't know what I'm doing yet, but I am along that path. I'm getting there. And I'm hoping to bring quite a few of you with me so that we're all learning together. So I think I'll cut it off now. If you like what you see, like and subscribe, become one of the tribe, because together we're going to survive.